So I was just really interested in regards to influencing for change when it comes to your CEO and your CFO. I know you're very new in your role, but I'd love to hear about some of the tactics that you are thinking about to continuously have that dialogue to influence for change.
Totally. I can't emphasize this one enough. Communicate your strategy over and over and over and over again. That's something that for every single position that I've ever been in where it's felt strained or where it's felt like it's going really well, it's when you bring people along for the ride. And so the framework that I'm using at Bitly is very comparable to the one I use at Teamwork, which is very comparable to Sprout. A good book I would recommend picking up, the First 90 Days, is something someone shared with me a while back, which really kind of sets up a really good framework for how you bring people in and communicate changes that you're making. But even after that, there's a couple things that I'll consistently do. And so one is monthly reports. And not a monthly report where it's a whole bunch of slides or words or documents. Sometimes I'll do a video, and I'll eventually bring these into Bitly, but finding ways that you can kind of communicate, here's what the marketing department was able to achieve, and here's our focus going into the next quarter. For things that I'll do with my team is I often do a weekly email, which is just kind of a cascading communications down and then across and then upwards, and share that with the leadership team as well. So people know kind of not just where you're spending your time, but also what are the things that you're hearing. That's always equal parts outcomes as it is, the world is hard right now, and we're all having different sets of feelings and emotions coming into that, and that's okay, and that's how we show up as one together at work. And so I think the communications in general is the area that I would say, as a leader, it's often undervalued in how important it is not just to communicate, but to over-communicate. But do it in a way to where you know who you're communicating to. When I'm thinking about what I'm saying to my CEO or my CFO, it's very different than what I'm saying to, our director of sales, or what I'm saying to the go-to-market team, or even my team. Like the CEO gets, and we literally had this conversation yesterday, spreadsheets thrown in his direction and plans thrown in his direction every single day. And so how do you distill down the most important things that he needs to hear or she needs to hear in the day-to-day to help them say, aha, I got it. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got when I was earlier in my career, it was from my husband, bless him. I was really struggling with my leader at the time, and he's like, you do know that your job is to make her look good, right? Like your job is to make her show up and be a rock star. And that's how you're a rock star. So she shouldn't know everything that you're doing. That's why she hired you. And I was like, oh man, you're right. It is to make her look like a rock star. And that's our job with the CFO. And that's our job with the CEO. If you're a marketing leader, is to help them present to their board or present to the world or whatever your responsibilities are and who you're reporting into, like all the awesome things that marketing is doing. But then combined with that, all of the things that aren't going very well and all of the areas that you absolutely need support. If you've got these big revenue goals that you need to hit, but you don't have the team, or you don't have the software, or you don't have the capacity to do it, those you have to be loud about. But do it in a way that puts it into their thoughts. That's where you're talking about this difference of brand versus acquisition. If I'm entering into a call and talking to our CFO about unit economics and LTV to CAC, and like, this isn't gonna drive us the right efficiency, speaking his love language. If I enter the call and I say, I need this many headcount because that's gonna help me achieve my goals, he's like, no, you gotta sell me. And I think that's the same thing with the CEO too. So know who your audience is, and then distill down the most important, and then over communicate it always.